ahead and introduce yourself, man.
Well, my name is Raul Fagundes. I'm the owner, operator, everything you want to call for QBN Kennels. And it's not just me; it's a team that we have here between my wife and my daughter and myself. I was kind of a purist there for a while as well. I was like, well, at the time it was red nose, blue nose, right? The whole pit mentality was in, and I want to say around 2014 ish again. I saw my first try, and I was like, that looks awesome, but that's not the pure form, right? So I'm not somebody that immediately jumps into something. It takes me a while for it to come through and kind of sink in. Quickly realized that in my opinion, the ABKC was allowing tries to come in because it totally was giving a different aspect, and it was also evolutionary process within the breed. Um, I remember when I first was looking at bullies, blue was a big thing. Once the tries were established, I would say by around 2017, 2018, they were like the in thing for that matter. And then I saw my first Merle somewhere around that time. And again, I'm not one to jump right in. Um, and I started seeing that Merles were being bred. And honestly, the first version of Merles that I saw really turned me off, man. It really did. Uh, I could also tell you, to my surprise, because let me rewind a little bit. Just because I didn't like Merles did not mean that I wouldn't research it and try to find out the components of it. So as I was finding out the components, I remember I went into this one group and people were DNA testing their dogs, and they were OFA testing, and they were doing all this. And I had a conversation with someone. I don't recall who they are now, but I was telling them, why would you want to buy a dog that you have to go through all this process? That they educated me.
Mm.
They were like, all dogs should be health tested. All dogs. What do you think? Merles are the only ones that are walking around with ataxia or CRD4 or whatever? No. Those blue dogs you're talking about, two-tones and two-tone reds, they have it too. And so that kind of, a little bell kind of went off in my head, and I was like, they're right. And so I started testing my dogs about maybe a year later, when Embark became a little bit more, I don't want to say feasible, but Embark has also evolved, and it just became so much easier. $150, you send a little swab in, boom, 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 in 6 weeks you have a result. Then I started doing that, and I started educating myself with my own yard. Right. So I was also evolving as a breeder. I started breeding in 2016, right? Early 2016. So by 2017, 2018, we started going through this process. And I want to say about 18 months ago, I came to the realization that the strongest registry that this particular breed is being represented by, which is the ABKC, decided to allow Merles in that you can register, blotched or Merle, but you're not supposed to put them in the ring, because in the ring it would be considered a disqualification, right? So it's not going to work. But it doesn't take a genius to figure it out, bro, that this is how they inch forward little by little to get to the point where, Merles are going to be allowed in. I started getting hit several times by people buying dogs off of me. And they were breeding to Merles and creating these beautiful dogs and calling it QBN Merles. And so I was like, whoa, we need to put brakes on that. If there's going to be QBN on anything, it's going to be us, for obvious business reasons.
Right.
I'm very transparent. I don't sit here and try to sugarcoat it. I tell you straight up what it is. I also realized that the Merle community, whether it was through a stigma or through their own conviction, Was health testing more? I would even dare to say, man, they were just more on top of things. Whereas the two-tone community or even tri-community, health testing, like the percentage, if I was going to put a percentage on just two-tones and tries, I would say less than 5% were health testing at the time. And if you looked at, you look at the Merle population, I would say around 50% is health testing. And why do I know? Because in those particular groups at the time, Facebook was letting people sell dogs. Remember back then?
Yeah.
Talking about 2.5, 3 years ago. So they would go ahead and put on there, the dog is embark clear, he's OFA tested, blah, 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 and it's so much for the puppies. So every other, when you're flipping through Facebook in that group, every other post was telling you that, they were embark clear, and they would have the link on there, and you click on there and you go into their embark, and you could also see their pedigree and all that good stuff. So I started realizing that, even though these people are being shunned by the community because, they're not pure. Well, that try you got sitting in your living room, he ain't pure either, right? At one point, he wasn't thought of as being pure either. So, I came to the conclusion, not just from a breeding standpoint, but also from a business standpoint, that I would go ahead and breed Merles. And when I did that, I came out and made a video, spoke on it. A lot of people decided that, I guess I was no longer a role model to be looked up on, which is fine. I never asked to be a role model to begin with. I do have my platform. I speak my truth. I share with you what I know. If you want to take it, you can. If you don't, you can walk away from it. It's as simple as that. But nonetheless, I decided to breed Merles, and pretty soon we're going to start producing them.
No.